Welcome to Between Sundays. I'm Tyler. And are there any friends of the pod alive that I can show kindness to for Jonathan's sake? Today, we welcome Reverend Dr. Milton Keyes to the show to talk about how pain is complicated. But before we heal in community, now that they've returned from their weekend getaways in Lodebar, let's welcome in our favorite co-host, Meredith Barry. Good day, guys.
Good day.
And welcome, Milton.
Welcome.
Yay!
What's up?
What's up, man? Hey, welcome back. So Milton emailed me about a week ago, just like preparing. He's the most like proactive, like when does the show start so I can be on time guest that we've ever had. Most people like we either have to reach out to or they forget or whatever. But Milton was on it a week ago saying, I don't want to miss it.
You gotta understand with this new job, if it's not on my calendar, last week or the week before, I had 14 meetings.
Whoa. That's like a Tuesday at Grace.
Yeah. Ooh, Lord.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
That's too much. But what's going on? What's new with you, Milton? Tell us about your life.
Well, I got a new job. I am the executive director of Advocates Embassy.
God rules.
Yes, he does. Hallelujah. See, don't get me misbehaving this early.
That's what the first part's for.
So, before I told you, last time I had dislodged Advocates Embassy.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Because God rules, I have a mentor. I think y'all know him, Dave Rodriguez.
Yes.
Oh, friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
He was sitting here last week.
I just need to look at the birds.
So, Dave and I have 3 mentors because you know it takes a lot to keep me in line.
Yeah, they got to wrangle you.
Anyway, they're like, this is what you're called to do. You should be full-time in the farm. We're going to raise the money. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
That sounds wonderful. I'm from a church that don't raise that kind of money. So I want to see that. Anyway, didn't know about this grant, found the grant. I didn't think I qualified. The day before I applied for my 501c3. Now watch this, y'all. 501c3 takes about 6 months to come back. Dave's to 18 months.
Oh, Lord.
Mine took 18 days.
Wow.
So
Well,
watch
obviously, it's
this.
Jesus.
Let the redeemed of the Lord say
Say so. See, this is why I emailed you.
Yeah.
Because whereas I wasn't real calm yesterday, I knew I didn't have to be calm at all on the podcast.
That's right, man. Just let
So
loose.
I can really act the fool.
Yeah.
I have a reason. So I applied for my 501c3 the day before I applied for the grant, so I could tell them I applied and it was in process. Watch this. Before the grant came back, I had a 501c3.
Yeah,
Ooh.
already approved. That's awesome.
When the grant came back, we were ready to roll. So I'm busy. I'm meeting with folks in disability ministries and folks with disabilities. And I'm at least once a month, at least, meeting with Dave all the time.
I was going to ask you, you mentioned in your message that you were here once a month helping Laura with Lyft. What are you doing back there? I've been gone for 3 months. So I haven't seen you around because I haven't been here, but what are you doing with Laura?
And remember, I technically went full-time August 1. So I've only been here once in August.
Okay.
So I'm just watching right now. And then I went to game night and I watched him play games. September, I'm not coming to live because I was here already.
Uh-huh.
And
Paid your dues.
I'm trying to balance at my church. I'm the audio guy and the head of the ministers.
Mhm.
So I'm the head associate. So I have to balance my grace time and my church responsibilities.
Sure.
So what am I doing? Good question. Right now, I'm watching. I just got my grace background check.
Okay.
So I know I'm going to probably learn the security role.
Mhm.
But I'm watching. Me and Lauren are tossing around some projects. So what am I doing? I'm learning how to run a disability ministry, and I'm terrorizing Laura.
Yeah, most
For
importantly.
sure.
Yeah.
Most importantly, I'm terrorizing Laura. It's very, very fun.
We got to bring Laura on one of these times just to.
You
Yeah, have her-
really do. She's not gonna like it.
I know. I was gonna say she'd be a little maybe shy when we asked her, but I know she'd.
She
be
oversees
great.
our
She would be
lift
wonderful.
disabilities ministry.
Yeah.
So you're working with her about once a month.
Yeah, and then but this month I'm checking out some of the other things Lyft does
Mm-hmm.
since I can't be here on Sunday.
Sure.
Mhm.
And we do a bunch of other stuff. We've got the respite events. We've got the game nights, the adaptive fitness. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
I gotta probably see my meetings tomorrow here or in the morning,
Mhm.
or I will see. Here's what happens when I preach.
Mm.
I'm usually here 3 days
Yes.
after. It's usually the podcast,
Uh-huh.
and then tomorrow I'm meeting with Dimitri. So I said, Laura, let's do lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So usually when I preach here, I'm here
a multi-day
for 3
event.
days. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm just here. I
Good.
love it.
Yeah, we're just chatting.
And it's my job. It's so. I keep saying this is my job. How is this my job?
Yeah.
And 2 more things, and then so with that, I'm releasing a podcast called Advocates Embassy Podcast. By the time you see this, it'll be on Spotify and Apple. The first season is done. It's 8 or 9 episodes.
Oh, wow.
And it's out and it's free, so you can
Now I get-
listen to it. It's behind the paywall.
Yeah.
All I do is $5.
Paying for this.
Come on, it's $5. But the other thing, my board wants my book done in 6 months.
Oh my
Ooh,
goodness.
deadlines.
So next year, I'll have a book out.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Preferably.
You going on a book tour?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
You should have me back.
Oh yeah, we'll bring you back for the book review. That's cool. I didn't know you were writing a book.
Yeah. The point is, there needs to be a basis for the work.
Mm-hmm.
So before we just do a whole bunch of stuff, well, it's why. So you'll see, Mary and Barry have heard a lot of part 2 of the book because they were stuck with me for a whole month. Me and Mary were arguing.
It was so
were you?
fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. So the second part is a lot of what we did in our training. The first part is based on the story of naming and building embassies of heaven. So I am so excited. And finally, because I'm a producer, and a teacher, I don't believe in delivering messages in one medium. So the other thing I'm working on, Mary, is can you guess?
Is it an album, maybe?
It's an album.
Cool stuff.
And there'll be several albums.
Wait. It's like a trilogy? What are we doing here?
Well, industry-wise, the way artists get attention from their library, because music is so available. It's like binge watching a TV show. If you want to binge watch a show, you don't pick the show with one season out. You pick the show with 10 seasons because you can watch over a course of time. Likewise, artists do better when they are building libraries. So to get the message and the mission of Advocates Embassy out, Advocates Embassy will be perpetually releasing music. I saw something on Transportation Church Sunday. They had that big album release party, and Pastor Todd, as he's leaving service, he's heading, hallelujah, to the studio. And he says, what do you do after you release an album? He says you go do the next one. Behind him is the track list we can't see yet.
Oh.
So they are perpetually working on this music, trying to get the message out. I'm a lot slower than they are, but that's the
Same
goal.
idea, huh?
Yeah.
That's the goal. So I'm going to use
You're busy, man.
some of my friends from Grace.
Jaden, he's talking to you.
And your mother.
So Jaden, speaking of which, you walked in saying you were looking for him on the drums this past weekend, and you found him on the bass. Was that a surprise to you? Like, did you? Because it was a surprise to me. I sent Marin a text message in the middle of service because I was watching Jaden, and what I said was every instrument has its own like body movements. So like if you're playing keys, it's just a lot of like. It's just a lot of arms. If you're playing drums, you got your movement. You're playing guitar, it's like upper body, like shoulders, maybe. Bass is a lot of like up and down, knees, neck, like a lot of neck. And Jaden,
neck snaking,
neck movements. Jaden was like, he just knew what to do. I've never seen him play bass before. I'm sure he's done it a million times, but like, I'm used to either.
You're right. Bass playing, Jaden, it's all in the knees. You're right.
Yeah, it's all knees and neck.
Yeah.
But that's like what you would expect from a bass player. That's how they should look. He just looks like any instrument he's playing. He looks like he should be playing that instrument.
But let's go deeper. Because he wasn't just shredding. He was clean in the pocket.
Well, yeah.
But here's how you know a player is a player and not a fill-in. He was using vibrato. He was using expression. And we're church musicians. He was able to worship.
Yeah. That is just what we do, son.
Oh my gosh.
But I love. See, you gonna talk because you gotta do all my sound effects.
Yeah. See, part of the sound effects, one is just to, add a little humor every now and then. But two, and maybe more importantly, is just to interrupt whoever's talking.
Yeah, make sure that they can't finish their thought. Do a great job of that.
So what was that? So I could tell that he's not just someone, Mom needed a bass player.
Right.
No, he played, and I play the bass very little, but he plays the bass. Yes, I love it. It's not, that boy is problem.
He's a problem.
And then I found out Disney was doing the
Computer graphics.
yeah. Even when I messed up,
Your sermon notes.
follows it. I love it. I turned. I'm like, thank you guys for following. I got a little excited. They're like, oh, that's Disney. I'm like, what?
Oh, she was excited that it was you.
Yeah.
She knew it would be a
That's cool.
challenge.
That's awesome. We're the Gaffrins and we worship together.
Yeah,
the family.
except Marin and Jed did not worship together.
No.
We had to go watch the Bears lose.
Ooh, Marin, was this your? So we'll do lightning round. What's new? I'm choosing for you. You were at the Bears and Colts game. Was this your first like Indianapolis Colts game
Yes.
experience?
First real one. We went to a preseason game earlier, like this year, August or something like that. But this was the first legitimate
Yeah,
Bears Colts game that I've ever been to.
and
what a sad one to go to.
so you're Bears fans. You and Jed are Bears fans.
Yes.
and they lost to the 0-2 Colts.
They did.
Right? Yeah.
You should root for the home team.
No, I do root for the home team, my home. You root for your home, I'll root for my home.
From watching it on TV, it sounded like it was a Bears home game. Like there were so many Bears
incredible. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Like my father-in-law said the Colts should be embarrassed. If I
Yeah.
was the Colts, I would have been embarrassed at how many Bears fans
fans. Least
were there.
impressive thing to Marin sounds like the mascot, the Colts mascot.
Oh,
was
your mascot is pathetic. What even is that thing?
It's just a goofy looking horse with like streams coming out of
we
its
have
nose.
Staley the bear, and he's got like angry eyes. He
Yeah,
looks like he means
scary.
business. And for goodness sakes, he's a bear. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
rip you up.
Yeah.
He's a mascot you can take seriously.
Yeah.
Your guy with this like jelly roll middle, and he just like jiggles it around. Like I don't understand how that is in any way
Yeah.
fierce or fearsome.
How long have you been in Indianapolis?
7 long years, my
Oh,
friend.
How you not like it here?
Oh, I just don't like the mascot. Indianapolis is fine. It's wonderful. Your mascots are terrible.
What's the mascot called?
Blue. His name's Blue.
You
and
come
he's
for
just-
Blue, you come for all of us, Marin.
Well, Boomer is the only decent one.
I get a picture with Boomer every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my annual. I usually wear a Bulls jersey when I go to a
Yeah,
Pacers
see?
game and get my picture with Boomer. But we traded roles this weekend, you and I.
I know.
I was a tourist in your town.
Yeah, I was in
You were
Chicago.
a tourist in my town.
Yeah, Lauren planned this quick getaway to Chicago because a bunch of stuff's free up there.
That's right.
And so we took the kids, the whole family, took a train from South Bend to Chicago
Wow.
and just kind of like did touristy stuff in Chicago that kids would enjoy. So we went to like Millennium Park, went to the beach, went to the zoo, which is free.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Who knew?
I'm
Yeah.
so
Isn't that zoo
jealous.
awesome?
Yeah, the zoo is amazing, especially because it's free.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been to Chicago many times. This is the first time I've actually done what tourists probably do, like seeing different parts of the city. Usually I go and I'm like hang out with friends or something. We go do whatever they're doing in their life. This, you're like, all right, let's walk from this point to this point to this point to this point. Let's get on the L. Let's, let's do that kind of stuff. And Chicago's very interesting because it feels like there's always something to do.
Yeah.
It feels like everybody's just doing their own thing, but all at the same time. And it's all right, like near each other.
Are you starting to understand me more? Like, this is why I don't play board games.
Or is this why?
There was always stuff to do.
Is this why
would
you
I
just
play
can't sit
games?
still?
Yeah, maybe that's why. Too.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. I love Chicago. Don't like the Bears, but I love
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, it was a blast. Lauren did a great job in planning the trip, and
And you went to my favorite restaurant.
went to your favorite restaurant. We had intentions of going to a Cubs game, but decided that the kids' attention spans wouldn't last more than like an inning and a half, so we decided not to spend money on that, and instead, by the end of the weekend, they were worn out from walking so much. But
Wait, they were or you were?
well, we all were, but they were. I still am. So
Sticks with you.
Yeah.
You know what I just thought about, Mary?
What's that?
Chicago with my scooter. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. You'd be flying.
Now, can I tell the story of the scooter?
Yeah, go for it.
So, one of my first donations was from you all.
From
and
Grace
it
Church.
was a scooter. So if you don't know that, from the car in our airport to the gate is like 1.5 miles.
Right.
So to drag a suitcase,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a small airport.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to
goodness, when you go to
Atlanta
Yeah.
or anywhere, so I was fundraising for a scooter. My first fundraising, see, if I had time to tell you what God has done in 6 months. So Barry emailed me and says, hey, we can send you what we usually do as a minister, or we can buy you a scooter. I said, buy a scooter. And then we went to Orlando, because at first I'm used to walking. So I'm like, do I need my scooter? Do I not?
Right.
We're going to be in the church, and my dad is still going to listen. So my dad, who didn't understand why I was fundraising for a scooter, once he went to the store and saw the scooter, he loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Now he works at the store selling scooters.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Repairing scooters. Anyway, I'm like, well, I could walk, but I'm going to take it definitely to Orlando. And I would have been so tired without it.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
Because it's so much, especially when you're preaching, you're
Mhm.
tired.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're in a conference, it's a lot of back and forth, even short distances. So my dad's like, take that thing everywhere, right? So here's my best part. Excuse me. So I love the fair.
Mm.
The state fair.
Yeah, I love the Indian State Fairs, but I don't go by myself. It's a lot of walking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I get tired, but I went twice. The first time, went with my best friend. We walked he walked, I drove
Yeah.
the whole circle. But here's the coolest thing. The second time I went completely by myself.
Wow.
Mm.
And because I had a scooter, I could park wherever I wanted to, because I didn't have to walk. If you guys knew the level of independence now, first thing I did is down the street is SMC, which is, they do a lot of hydraulic stuff.
Mm.
It's 1 million square feet factory. My best friend works there. They had Family Friends Day. First thing I did, I took the scooter and I just drove the whole building.
Mm.
And the level of independence I have
It's a new
is
world.
so great. I'm going to DC, and I never go to DC without a scooter. Now I don't have to pay extra to go preach. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I can just go.
Milton, does your scooter have a name?
No, I lived off.
I say you name it Mephibosheth.
Mephibosheth.
You can call it Fibby. Fibby for short.
Mephibosheth's whip.
I just like the whip.
Yeah, the whip. The whip.
Barry,
No.
quickly, what's new with you? What's going on in your life?
Oh, not too much. I'm still trying to pick up the pieces from being gone for 3 weeks and trying to figure out what is life anymore. What is work? But I did have a cool thing happen the other day related to garden updates. My garden has been so overgrown. I've been getting super discouraged because I've just not had the time or put in the time to like keep it whatever. So it's very overgrown. But I was going past it the other day and I had this moment of thinking, you know what? I think this fall, I want to recapture the delight in this property that God's given us. And then just then I wanted to go and look at the pawpaws to see if the pawpaws were ripe. By the way, get in there.
Okay.
We're like days away.
Oh my
so
goodness.
You better rejoice.
you better rejoice. Next Tuesday at the latest, you'll have your pawpaw and it's going to be great. It is. It's like a local, it's a native fruit that is as close as you can get in Indiana to like a tropical tasting fruit. It tastes like a mix between like bananas, mangoes, papayas.
So you're saving me one, right?
Oh, of course. I'll save you one. We'll definitely get you hooked up. But anyway, so I went and I was going to go check to see if they were ripe. And then I looked underneath and I realized that I had my shiitake logs were just completely flushed with shiitake mushrooms, which I had given up on those logs because it has been 2 years since I inoculated them and nothing. And I thought I failed. I didn't keep them moist enough. They're just gone forever. But no, they were just taking their sweet time. And now I've got like half a decade worth of shiitake mushrooms.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty exciting.
Did you make something with them yet?
I did. I made
keep
this really
asking you this.
delicious stir fry with shiitake and tofu. It was great.
I love shiitake.
Yeah. So good. I'll get you some.
I love
please.
mushrooms.
Me too.
Shiitake.
That's why we get along.
Well, anyway, that's what's new. Shiitake
All right.
mushrooms on my
Good.
logs.
Are we getting any like fall produce? Any like squash or stuff
No.
like that?
Nope.
That's okay. I'll rejoice. I will rejoice.
better
in
rejoice.
shiitakes.
I'll
And
make
the
some hot
pawpaws.
pepper, some fermented hot pepper hot sauce for you.
Oh, my dad does that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. You know my dad does everything.
Yeah, he does. He's a polymath. He's a
Yes,
Renaissance man.
he really is.
All right, Milton. So you are here because we love you and also because you wrapped up our Hope Month series. We spent 4 weeks talking about the healing the broken place of pain. We've still got one more week for the weekend of service and all that stuff. But as far as sermons are concerned, you wrapped up our month of focusing on the healing the broken place of pain. And nothing says hope more than the name Mephibosheth. So I got to say, I know people with like Bible names like John and David and Paul.
Maher al Hashbaz.
Yeah. That's like Mephibosheth.
Mephibosheth.
Sheth is like, I don't know too many of those.
Yeah.
So
That's the full version of the name Phoebe.
Well, and apparently there's two of them, right? Wasn't Mephibosheth
there
a descendant of Mephibosheth?
Oh.
It's a family name.
There's one that was spared and one that died.
Oh.
And if you get into Rizpah is a really good story, especially in what's called the womanish tradition, which is a tradition focused on the faith of Black women. And it talks about how this woman, who was one of Saul's concubines, advocated for her sons who were killed unjustly. And she makes a spectacle until David has to change his mind. And hallelujah, the Lord didn't heal the land until David changed his mind. It's a really good story. And I kind of referenced it on the low in my, because I said, Mephibosheth was disabled and he was in Saul's family.
Right.
Those are two groups of people David liked to kill.
You did say that. You said he was not kind to them.
No, he wasn't. David is a complicated figure.
Yes, sir.
And I think we simplify him until he's a hero when he was such a flawed
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah. I've been reading so much ancient history recently, and I'll tell you one thing that I know for sure is the last person you want to be is the relative of a deposed king. Just period. You are going to die.
That's what you said. That's what you said.
Yeah.
That's why he was hiding in Lodebar.
So we like to start each of these by kind of recapping like what the big idea or big thought behind what you had to share with the congregation this past weekend. So if you could kind of summarize it in 1 to 2 sentences, what would you say the big idea behind your message was?
Pain is complicated, and you really can't be a healer to somebody until you understand their predicament. And you can't truly understand their predicament until you are in community with them.
Mm-hmm.
Healing is in community.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. I think that there were a lot of takeaways for me from this. One of the things that you said first was pain is complicated, and I guess you can't simplify people's suffering or their pain. So one of the things you started the sermon by kind of sharing a story that happened to you specifically, someone who asked to pray for you or wanted to pray for you and didn't ask many questions after that. You had a conversation with your friend, and their question was, why didn't you ask him why he wanted to pray for you? And so as I was listening to your anecdote to kind of illustrate what you were talking about, one of my questions was, how do we balance the tension between helping someone or helping to heal them or stepping in a healing manner for someone, and then how do we balance that with not overstepping into their healing journey? Is it simply be in community and ask questions? Is that it? Or because there is a tension. You said a couple times, he didn't ask what you needed. He just wanted to pray for you. And your friend, I don't know. I don't think you said its name, but your friend was like, why didn't you, maybe you should have asked him why he wanted to pray for you. So is it simply just like getting that stuff out in how we balance the tension, or is there a better way to balance the tension between helping and maybe overstepping in what we try to do?
I'm going to talk this out, but first, Mary, I used my time. Are you proud?
I'm so proud of you.
Because last time you took like 17 minutes or something.
I think you texted me on Tuesday. You said, I'm going to use every one of the 30 minutes I'm allotted. I was like, take it, and then some. You did great.
So, yeah, that means I still got about 23 extra floating in the ether. So when I get, because every time I get a text, it gets harder.
Yes.
So
of course.
the next thing you give me, Barry, I might take some of that and use time for my first 2 sermons.
Yeah, you're banking it. Yeah.
It rolls over.
I'm banking. But back to your question. Here's the tension in this story. So, Barry, even though I always try to be mostly obedient to what I'm assigned, and when I'm not obedient, I have permission. So I have permission to use the text I use, but Barry wanted to reference my prayer request. And it starts out with the story of this woman praying for her in the grocery store. And I'm working on my DC workshop, and I'm messing around with the idea of cold call evangelism.
Mm-hmm.
So we always talk to go out and evangelize, but what does it look like when it's a cold call? In any other situation, you hate cold calls, right?
Right.
So why if I'm an atheist or a Muslim or church, do I want you to say, hey, do you know Jesus?
Right.
Who's that? Where's he from? You know? But so is that these cold call prayer requests, it's what's behind it for me. So, I'm going to pray for you. I feel sorry for you. And I've had this in churches where I was a young adult pastor, and everything they give these young adults was for new members. So these young adults were kids that grew up in church, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they knew the Bible well. So I'm like, why are you giving us this new member stuff? You mean to tell me you didn't teach them anything for 18 years?
Right.
And now I got to reteach? There's no connection. So I know it's not simple as being in community. Here's an example. I'm about to take Mary's kids and Mary to my studio.
So you say.
I'm going to get it on my calendar today.
All right.
Which is better than Ryan Wick. Oh, did I say that out loud? Nobody from Grace has been to my studio. That maybe they, and I think you're coming Sunday for my party.
Yeah.
I'm going to handle that too. I got you. I'm turning 40 Sunday, y'all.
Hey.
The big 40.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, party at the studio. You're invited. We'll handle that after this.
Okay.
But I invited Aaron's kids to my studio. I can do that because I know Mary. I know how much music is important to her, and her kids' ministry is important to me. Mary knows me. Mary heard my work. She knows I'm a legitimate producer, not one of those bootleg guys who there's a relationship here.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's like, who are you? I'm not taking my kids to see you. Same thing with healing. Healing is not just complicated, it's intimate. What does it mean when you tell me I need healing from cerebral palsy? How am I going to take that?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that, and again, I wasn't throwing my friend under the bus. I was going to preach that intro straight ahead. I was going to preach it like this guy was a jerk. This guy didn't understand. And then Clarence, and again, remember, Clarence, my friend, is my scribe.
Yeah.
So he
knows you.
physically typed my dissertation, didn't write it, but he typed the words. He knows the word. He's been my music teacher since I was 9. He's my best friend and my production partner. He knows me better than anyone. He understands the work, but he's looking at if he's a child of God or he's a human, he's your community.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be willing to explain to him. I don't know if I'm answering the question.
Yeah, we're getting there because I think my question more is like, I did not think that you were throwing your friend under the bus. I was really appreciative that you started the sermon with that because it made me think like how hard it actually is to step into healing, and there is a line between like just trying to go through someone's healing journey with them and then feeling like you're overstepping. So in in my experience, primarily it's like with emotional pain. So like people that have suffered loss or loss of a loved one or something like that. Even when I'm in relationship with those people, it's hard to know if I'm helping them on their healing journey by talking to them, thinking that I'm comforting them or whatever, or overstepping to something that's more triggering or something like that.
And it might be different for each person.
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
like, especially as grief is concerned, you know, there are people who have a tendency to not want to bring up
That's right.
the departed or the sadness because they don't want to trigger. But the person might be saying, oh no, the more you can talk
That's
about
right.
my loved one, the
Right.
more
Yeah.
it keeps their memory alive. And that might be different for each person.
Yeah.
I'm wondering two things. I got two things. How did you feel when your friend challenged you? It sounds like he challenged you. You said, oh, this person tried to pray for me. And then he said, well, why didn't you ask him why he felt you needed prayer? Did you feel convicted? Did you feel enlightened? Did you feel upset? How did you feel when your loving friend and community brought that question to you?
First of all, I was angry because I clung to the preacher. So I'm preaching the sermon. I'm not bragging. I'm also one of Clarence's favorite preachers. So usually I'm preaching, he's like, yeah, that's great. So, and trust me, if I had an opportunity to throw him under the bus, I definitely would. Because he's my best friend.
Yeah, you
I
got to.
don't mind. But he's like, I don't get it. And I'm battling, and I know I preached it for him because the sermon was more complex. Because honestly, it's a text I wanted to examine. And when I did examine, it worked. Barry let me get away with it. So I preached it. And the way I was preaching it, it was hard to see the good news in the text. I mean, the good news is simple. You'll eat at my table.
Yeah, started from the bottom. Now you're here.
But you know me, I can't preach the simple good news
Right.
that we shout and go home and miss the point. So I was angry because I'm tired of explaining for people why I need prayer. Clarence, you know this already. Number 3, I gotta rewrite this intro.
Most importantly,
It's 6 o'clock. We gotta be at church at 7:15. I'm trying to go to bed by 9, and I gotta redo this intro. But I write like preaching. That's why these answers are gonna take a while because I'm computing as I'm talking. So bear with me, Tyler.
We know who you are.
So
yeah, we're in community.
As I'm preaching through this again, I saw it. And I'm like, wait, this is my calling.
Wow.
This is why we're shouting.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is why I'm full time. This is the theological work, and God has me in the weird space. I went to a liberal seminary. I work with a lot of extremely liberal churches, and somehow I've been pulled into this evangelical world. Now, you all are not normal evangelicals.
Is that a compliment?
I'll take that as a compliment.
Don't act
It
like you're a
is,
big shot.
but still, with them with 2 ministries, you're in this evangelical world, and what God is teaching me, somebody said, you're called to bridge the gap. So I'm bridging this right justice orient of I don't need healing with which another one which you help them understand, which is actually not just evangelical, it's still in the liberal churches about community too. My church does communion every Sunday God sends.
Mm-hmm.
It's the basis of our doctrine around the table.
Yeah.
So I was upset, but I was glad he did. I'm gonna make him watch this now. Hi, Clarence.
So here's my second question, because I had two. I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm not trying to take your job. But I guess to Tyler's question, how do you know when you're overstepping? I feel like a lot of Christians think that they need to emulate Jesus or the apostles when it comes to healing in terms of like, hey, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ, rise up and walk. And they're not necessarily in communion with the leper or whoever it was. They're not in community necessarily, not as we see it described in Scripture. So I feel like they feel this responsibility to behave in such a way because Jesus did it, the apostles did it, just rise up and walk.
I think I'm leaving something out, and this is going to sound like an easy out, but it's not. The last point of the sermon is we can discern in community through the Spirit.
Yes.
Because Clarence also told me a story of a girl in a wheelchair who felt like I felt, was in there for 20 years, went to a service, got healed, and walked out, and they shouted all the time, please don't think I think healing is bad. Some folks are going to be healed. The key is in the Spirit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you made that distinction.
I'm not doing this work on my own.
Yeah.
I would still be working 4 jobs if God didn't intervene. I would never met you all.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, somebody from my college best friend.
Yeah.
Now, granted, neither I or the person that works here talked to my best friend like Evers. So, but somehow God brought me here.
Yeah.
Through the Spirit. It's the Spirit. There are going to be some times where you need to lay hands on somebody and they need to get up and walk. There's sometimes you need to get that person a wheelchair and help them accept that there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
And only the Spirit can tell you the difference. We have the line is what God says, Tyler. It sounds like an out, but this is too complicated for us. Even with Moses, Moses is at the burning bush. I'm so glad I don't have to behave today. Moses is at the burning bush. And he says, God, I got a speech impairment. I love this thing. This thing blew my mind. God says, I know, I decide who has a disability and who. Because the easy way out is God doesn't make anybody with a disability. It's not because of the fall. Stuff just happens. No, God says I designed you that way for this purpose. But God didn't stop there. Go get Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron's going to talk for you. I designed you this way to put before. That doesn't mean I'm going to leave you without help.
Yes.
I'm not going to take the impairment, but I am going to heal you. Oh, my God.
I think that's really, that was one of the most, like, that was one of the more profound things I'd heard in your sermon. There were a couple things that stood out, but that was one of them, that healing is giving access to someone's restoration. And it's important for me specifically to remember that if I'm to enter into someone else's healing journey, I should not overestimate my role in someone's healing journey. I am entering into a process designed by God that's probably multifaceted. It probably involves more than just me. It involves professionals. It involves community. It involves divine intervention, the Spirit. But I think when I see crisis, I enter into it thinking I'm going to participate in this healing journey, and I think it's easy for me to be like, I'm really important in this, and where I think it's important to remember that we are participating in what the Spirit is directing.
I think it's it of everything can we do this with music too? I'm the worship leader. I bring in worship. I usher in the Spirit. There's a song that says, we watch and we wait. We anticipate for the moment that you shall appear. We worship, we pray, and the last line is we recognize you're already here. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a worship leader, Mary, thinks they're the reason the Spirit's here. Sometimes a preacher thinks they're the reason the Spirit here. I think it's not just with healing, it's with everything we do. We gotta realize we're not that important.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and once we realize that, it's easier to ask questions because I don't have to look like I know it all. You know what I told Clarence? Why haven't you prayed for me to play the piano? So he did immediately. Still can't play it yet. But part of that is I have an instrument that I could play if I practiced. Mm-hmm. But since I was 9, he's been trying to get me to practice, and we're getting close. But so in that case, one day I might walk in here, sit on the North and say, Baron, check this out. And Mary's going to run around the church and I'm going to run behind her. It might happen. Yeah. If it doesn't, it's okay. And we're not the ones who decide that. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean I haven't been healed.
That makes total sense. I'm glad you said that. I think another thing that stood out to me that I wouldn't have noticed, but you brought it out, is David's kindness to Mephibosheth. It seemed like it came from, at least part of it came from his covenant with Jonathan, which was his father, right? And I just thought this was really important. As the people were called to heal, you said we already are in relationship with their father. Like we already have a covenant with their father to step into their lives and bring healing. I thought that was really interesting because
that was really cool.
I never thought of it that way. I never would have seen it that way had you not pointed that out. So just that we're already in relationship with the person who's hurting or the person who's experiencing pain's father. It's more than just personal connection. It's a covenant. It's an obligation. And maybe perhaps that minimizes the kindness, but I don't think it does. I think it makes it more important.
To be kind, let's do the B-sides. The deep cut. Here's what was cut from the sermon.
Let's hear it.
The B-sides?
The B-sides.
Let us have it.
David did not give a handout or a handout. He gave access to healing. Now, I know some of us would be like, yeah, he didn't give him Social Security. Yeah. Let's talk about that. The average Social Security check is like, I think, $1,300 in Indiana. The average rent is around $900. The average car note is like $360. That's around $1,260. You got $40 for food and utilities and diapers and everything else. We're told that people on disability or government assistance, they're being limited because they don't have to work. No, they can't work. If they make more than $1,180, they lose their disability. I knew because I messed up and they want it all back. So it's not a handout. It's a handout. It's just saying we're doing something. But we've been taught by this world that somehow helping people should be limited until they have the will to work or whatever. Do you know how hard that is for someone with a disability? I'll be 40 in, 4 days? 5 days? 6. All right. Sunday is Monday. So 6 days. I just told Tyler, I just got my first full-time job.
Yeah.
August 1st. I have a doctorate.
Yeah.
I had a teaching license. You think I didn't want to work?
Yeah.
I could not work. They would not let me. So it's not about a handout. It's about providing what is needed.
Yeah, you said healing is giving access to someone's restoration.
Right, wholeness.
Yep.
So that means mind, body, spirit, relationship. I love our definition of pain at this church because I'm a bootleg member now. So,
You called yourself a bootleg member?
So I love our definition at this church. It encompasses everything. So healing helps everything. If I can play the piano, I'm still traumatized by the fact that every time I killed an interview, they told me the kids wouldn't accept me. While I was still working in the school where kids love me, where they told me I couldn't do the job while I was doing it, I still got trauma. So that's why the cerebral palsy is just the beginning of the issue.
Yeah, and I think that you bring up a interesting point, because Mephibosheth's healing or access to restoration seemed pretty straightforward. It's like David invited him to his table, gave him access to the kingdom or whatever. Seemed pretty straightforward. The blessing seemed pretty straightforward. And I think it's important what you just said. It reminds me that it's important to remember that restoration can also be painful and uncomfortable. It's not always straightforward, especially if we've grown up used to like feeling shame or isolation or things like that. Healing isn't always smooth. It doesn't always feel good. Healing hurts sometimes. It brings out fear. It brings out discomfort, resistance. I have to be sensitive to this because it, I think the phrase like holistic restoration sounds really good, but I have to be realistic in knowing that that's not always super smooth. And your holistic restoration, whatever that means for you specifically, like is still entrenched in a life that is experiencing pain and trauma and things that you know, and it's not as straightforward as sometimes as other people's.
And the holistic restoration is going to come at the pearly gates. Let's be real.
Right. Yeah.
That's where it's going to come where the wicked shall cease from troubling and the weary shall be at rest. If you're not in heaven, you're not restored.
Right.
Yeah.
What? You real quiet, Pastor. Did I say something wrong?
No, you're good. I'm just waiting for a chance to jump in. It's playing. What's the jump rope thing? And I'm just like not sure. I want to trip it up. Double Dutch. I'm not ready to
wait for your turn.
Yeah.
Because I think part of my story and part of my pain involves being in places where I think everybody I'm around is drawing conclusions about me or my past or looking at me and judging me, and whether that's in public or sometimes whether that's at church. Like that's kind of my trauma. One of my versions of pain. But I've chosen to be part of those communities regardless. So,
but people gotta realize you act a certain way because of that, and that's why I believe the Lord gave me this text the way He gave it to me. Because Mephibosheth has a history. And I don't want you talking about healing is painful. Healing is painful for the healer. I say this Sunday, can you imagine? Hallelujah. You're David sitting on the throne and Mephibosheth walks in. What are you feeling? Are you sad? His daddy is the only person in the kingdom you could trust, and he's gone. His granddaddy was one of the worst kind of mentors you could imagine. His aunt is your wife. We forgot that. So for the healer, when I go to minister, I bring my trauma with me.
yeah.
And we have to recognize that. So even in your role at church, all the things you describe comes with you.
Yeah. And you could, people could, my point was going to be like, you could choose to leave community and you could choose to try to heal by yourself or try to find restoration by yourself, or you could choose to stay in it, stay in community, pursue community, and not treat the symptoms like you were talking about, but pursue like whole restoration through community. And it's not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes healing is very painful, but it's whole and it's restorative. And I think it's important for me to remember that.
Yeah. And I think it's with the story of David and Mephibosheth, I think the really important thing that I took away from this message was paying attention to, as a able-bodied person who is probably I default to ableism without realizing it a lot. If I were to, as an average person, see Mephibosheth, what would I think would be the problem? Oh, you have a problem where you can't walk. Your legs are not functioning normally. That's the problem. And what we realize with the story and the context is that, oh, actually he's facing social isolation. His family is dead. He has no prospects for a future. He probably feels deep levels of shame about what he can and can't do. And you don't know any of that unless you're in a relationship. Yeah. And the fact that David would say, come sit at my table, that's an invitation to know what the problem is. Yeah. It's not just a random person saying, let me pray for you because I know what's wrong with you.
Yeah. And here's an army of servants to go till the land.
Yeah, right, right.
Right. Let me make the adaptation so you can be healed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Making room.
Making room.
We're making room for him.
Okay, now I have a big question. Because I think your sermon gave me a lot of questions, my friend, and that's a good thing. You made me think. We are making room. What do you do when somebody wants to stay in Lodebar?
I had that as a question as well.
The king summoned Mephibosheth, and Mephibosheth thought he was going to be put to death. He was scared, but he went anyway. I feel like you kind of touched on that a little bit in your message of people who are stuck in cycles of addiction, people who are stuck in the proverbial Lodebar. I have people like that in my life, and I want to make room for them, but I don't think they want to leave Lodebar.
Yeah, and they're resistant to whatever healing is appropriate. Yeah.
Sometimes people just want to wallow.
Yeah.
Or they're afraid. Or
they're
the
afraid.
The
Yeah.
comfort, the familiarity of Lodebar is enough for them, even though it's a slum, even though they're stuck as stuck could be. At least it's familiar. And they stay there. What do we do then as healers?
I mean, this is real. It's so hard not to give the simple answer. So I'm going to give it and try to make it complex. You got to pray for some of these folks.
Yeah.
There's some folks, Lodebar feels good sometimes. You can't kill me in Lodebar.
Yes.
You can't kill my sin in Lodebar.
Yeah.
And if we were honest, we all got parts of us that is still in Lodebar. Which means we should empathize with these folks. And sometimes you gotta pray until God moves. Because sometimes only God can bring these folks out. And that sounds like the easy answer, but there's no other answer.
I'm writing it down. This is a continuation
Pray
of
for
the
these
sermon
folks.
notes I took from Sunday. I'm writing it down.
Because, and here's why. Because can I use my sanctified imagination, Pastor?
Go for it.
What happens if David marched to get him? If I see David marching towards me and I'm in Lodebar, what's my first instinct?
He's coming to kill me.
I'm going to fortify Lodebar. I'm never coming out of Lodebar. Sometimes our attempts at healing can backfire. So sometimes we gotta use the wisdom to know when to let God be God.
Yeah.
Even when it seems like he's not working. And then we got to do what they said and ask, what's next? What can I do? Because sometimes I just got to send a card to Lodebar. They may never answer. Sometimes I just got to somehow, if they're in my faces, in there in Lodebar, Jesus said, if I be lifted up above the earth, maybe I got to just tell them how good God is. That's how I can do is point their eyes to the hills. They might not even want to look, but maybe if Jesus is lifted up in their lives, they're all getting churchy, but you're getting into a place where you don't have many options. You can't drag people out of Lodebar because they'll run back.
I've tried.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was trying to touch on earlier when I said I have to remember my role in the healing. Like I'm not their hero. And I am a participant in whatever healing journey they are on or not on. And I think for me, I have to acknowledge that my role may shift from offering healing to offering presence whenever they're ready for it. Because they're on God's timetable, they're not on mine, right? So like, if they're on my timetable, I'm trying to heal them, I'm trying to fix, I'm trying to, enter and participate.
Yeah.
But if they're not ready, maybe the healing is I'm just offering my presence and waiting until they are ready, because I have to acknowledge that I can't always fix stuff.
Yeah. I'm thinking of a situation many years ago, but I had a very close friend of mine who was trapped in a relationship and a victim of domestic violence. I paid for her ticket to get from Buffalo, New York to Chicago. Like, we're going to get you out of that situation. She stayed with me for 2 weeks. She went back. Mm-hmm. She went back to her Lodebar. She wasn't ready. Now, that story ended with a happy ending. Eventually, she did get free, and she's got a wonderful life now, and we're still really good friends. But that was a dark time, trying to rescue when she wasn't ready to leave.
I gotta say this. I'm sitting at a church convention, right? I get a text message from my boss that says somebody had lied on me and told her I've done nothing at a project where I literally wrote and directed a play. I run to my pastor who's working at Roof, and he tells me, stop looking, this is happening because this ain't the job you're supposed to be doing. A few months over, he keeps saying, stop looking for a job. I can't pay my bills. I don't want to start anything. I want insurance. I want a regular life. I'm tired of living check to check. I don't want to start from scratch. He kept saying, stop looking for a job. And then Dave Rodriguez says, you working 4 jobs, you should be in ministry full time right now. And they didn't push me, they didn't leave me, they didn't cut me off, because that's what we'll do. Oh, they don't want help. I'm not going to talk to them because they stuff. I don't want to hear them no more. No, they kept mentoring, they kept working to me. In March, I came here and we launched the ministry because I was ready. And in July, I got a call that said I don't have to work 4 jobs no more. My pastor has probably been saying this for 3 years. Watch this. I'm one of the first grant recipients. When pastor told me stop looking for a job, there was no grant.
Right.
Not only, hallelujah, was I not ready, God wasn't ready yet. Not only was I not ready, the money wasn't there yet. God don't work on your time. It's so hard. It's not about us. We try to fix it, Tyler. We try to force it to happen. But sometimes God is moving. Hallelujah. Do you know they built this grant for 3 years or something like that?
Because he's an on-time God.
Do you understand when Ricky was telling me not to quit to stop looking for other jobs? The money was being prepared when Dave said you should be doing this full time. The grant was being constructed. We thought God was silent, but he was preparing my salary. So it only looks like they're in Lodebar. Sometimes they're just in the waiting room.
Yeah, there you go.
May not come when you want him,
but he's always right on time.
Well, Milton, I'm really grateful that you got to participate in Hope Month, and we heard your voice and your perspective this month. I think that it was much needed, and there's still stuff to process. This could have been much longer, but we're grateful that you're here and that you were with us today. So thank you for sharing your message with us this past weekend.
Thank you so much.
Barry, where are we going next?
Well, this next weekend is weekend of service, so we won't have a normal Sunday morning service. We'll be going out to do our big food drive, loading up our pantry shelves for the fall and winter. And then the following week, we kick off a new series all about biblical financial wisdom, which is going to be...
Settle down.
It's going to be... like way more than just the topic of generosity. It's about how do you steward well all that God has given you. I think it's going to be like an incredibly fruitful and important series for our people. So I'm excited.
Good. All right. Milton, thanks again.
Yeah.
It's always good to have you. We'll have you back when your book comes out so we can do a book review.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm sure Barry will have another assignment for
I will.
me.
I will.
Yeah,
For sure. For sure.
Marion, will you please send us out?
I sure will. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
And we'll see you on the other side of Sunday.